In exercise 5-26, we're going to start with our metric template. And just like everything else that I've been doing, I'm pretty much just going to lay out my views. So we've got our first segment here. Line comes across 55. The overall height on the back side of this is 50. The front side of this is going to come up 22. And then I'm going to track this up at 45 degrees to where it meets up with the back side of that object. That's going to give me the overall shape of my front view. And then I want to come off of here 15 and continue up to this intersection here. So there is my front view minus the hidden lines. My right side view is just going to be a rectangle. So we'll come off of here 25 millimeters, and this is going to be 60 by 50. And I'll worry about the hidden lines here in a second. I just want to put in the visible line that represents this. That hole that is in this face, I'll get to that in a moment as well. So the next thing that I need to do is locate my top view. So we're going to come off of here 25. And this is just kind of a rough starting point. This is not actually where this object begins. So I'm just going to draw this over to here, which is actually where my top view is going to be going up. So this is going to come up 42, which is just 60 minus 18. And then it's going to go back to this point, and then I can come up the additional 18 and then bring this across and then use tracking to just kind of fill in the rest of the shape, getting rid of this small segment right here. I then want to project this line here up. And I'm going to need a miter line on this particular exercise, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in now as well. Track up at 45 degrees, and that gives me my top view minus the hole that's in this face, my front view minus that hole, and then this view minus that hole. So basically for this hole, we're going to have to do some fancy word. The dimensions that are on this, it is dimensioned off of this bottom face at 18 up along this angle. And if we take a look at what the total length of this is, it's actually 39.598. The 18 that they're specifying is basically trying to put this in the center of this. So if you put it in the center, we're going to call it right, because if you put it in at 18, it's going to be slightly off center. So what I need to do, knowing that this is at a 45-degree angle, if I draw a line from this midpoint and I just come out a little bit at 45 degrees, that's basically going to locate where the center of this hole is for me. So now if I offset that line 10 on each side, because it's a diameter of 20, that gives me the location for the extents of that hole. So if I draw this down at 45 degrees and I draw this down at 45 degrees, this is going to give me where it actually goes through this entire part. So now I can trim this back to this line and this line to get where it's actually going to be exiting the back. If I now erase these three lines and make this hidden, that gives me all of the information that I need for where to locate this hole. I do need to project this line across and down, and then trim out what I'm not using of it and make this a hidden line as well. So now what we have left to do basically is locate where this hole actually is in relationship to pretty much everything else. It says that it's a diameter 20 through hole perpendicular to A. Now that's going to cause some additional issues once we get into this side right here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to come off of here 30, and that gives me my center point for where that hole is going to be. The diameter 20, if I offset 10 to each side, you'll see that it misses this part right here, which is why I stopped it at this line right here. Now, I still need some of the information from down here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer these lines here up, and that gives me, right here is the rectangle that I'm looking for where that hole is going to pass through. So if I use these as my cutting edges, I can trim out everything that I'm not using right here. And I know that I'm going to need to put a couple of these lines back in here in a minute, but it's a lot easier for me to just go through and do it in this way rather than trying to figure out some other way of doing it where I have to create additional work for myself. So we'll go ahead and put in our ellipse right here, and then I can erase all of these. Now, the way this hole works is it goes all the way through this face, so I can't see any of the information coming out at the back side of this. So if I just draw in lines from the quadrant down to here and the quadrant down to here, if that line was straight, it would be correct. Want to make sure that I don't grab the midpoint. These would be the hidden lines that represent the depth of this hole, but we can see that there's a little piece right here on the bottom. This is actually going to be a curvature that we're going to see on the bottom of this shape, so I need to put in another ellipse between here, here, and here, and what we're going to be seeing there is where the bottom of this shape kind of cuts out the actual object. So we'll go ahead and trim this, and this now gives us our hidden lines. This line should be solid still. This is where we have the little bit of a cutout right here on the bottom, and then since the hole continues all the way through, it's only half of that circle. So I'm going to use match properties to just make all of these lines right here hidden. So there we have how that hole is actually going to be looking in our top view. And now we need to translate that information to the front view. So to do that most effectively, we're going to transfer our lines from here over and down. And then we're going to come across here just like we did before. Now this rectangle right here is going to represent where my ellipse is going to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my ellipse command, and this time I'm going to shift right click and just do mid between 2 points. And then we'll grab the other side of that. So mid between 2 points. We'll select here and here, and then the other side of this ellipse is going to be right here, and it's coming across to there. So there we have that ellipse, and again, this goes all the way to the bottom. So the hidden lines that we have, if I just come in here and use this and this as my cutting edges, I can get rid of these line segments and these line segments, and that gives me all the information that is hidden. If I get rid of the rest of that, we can see where these hidden lines are going to be. So I'll match properties and make these hidden. But the other thing that I have going right now is I've got this right here, which is being cut out on the back. So if we take a look at where that is, this is, want to make sure that you're not grabbing the midpoint. That line is so close to the midpoint that you really have to zoom in to make sure that you're not grabbing the wrong thing. So this is going to be a really weirdly shaped cut coming out the back because it's such a large hole. So the ellipse that I have in this case is going to be from here to here all the way up to this. And then I can trim out the bottom side of this, and then make the rest of this hole hidden, and then get rid of that line. So this shape right here is actually how that hole looks as it cuts through the back surface of this part, which we can see that that total height is here. This ellipse right here represents the part of the bottom that we can see. So there's a lot of information going on right here just to try to get, you know, a hole that is perpendicular to a specific face. But if we look at this again, here we have our top view with an ellipse representing the hole that's cut through, the hidden lines for that, the hidden lines represented in the front view, and then our right side view. And that is going to complete exercise 5-26.